that claim that the sacred city where the Kaaba was located, according to the Hadith, was thriving in agriculture. It had trees and fruits and streams and valleys and grass, and anyone knows that if you go to Mecca, it's a desert land. So he says, because of this contradiction, this could not be Mecca, and Petra meets this criteria. And his second argumentation is that if you look at the location of the Qibla of a lot of these early mosques built after the Prophet, that they point towards Petra and they do not point towards Mecca. And so, God willing, in this episode, I want to deconstruct each one of these arguments and hopefully put this to rest, because every couple of years this comes out, I get a bunch of emails and questions and people linking to the video, and rather than addressing this one by one, I'm hoping to just go piece by piece through each one of these arguments and hopefully, God willing, not have to address this again. So we know that the best hadith, the best history, is that of the Quran, that these are the words of God given to mankind for us to find salvation. So if someone provides us with information that contradicts the Quran, it's our duty to disregard that information and follow the Quran alone. Now the Quran 2 times mentions Mecca by name. Once using the modern day name of Mecca, spelled with a meme in Arabic or an M in English, and once using the ancient name of BEKKA, spelled with a B in English or B in Arabic. And in 395 and 96 it reads, say, God has proclaimed the truth. You shall follow Abraham's religion, monotheism. He never was an idolater. The most important shrine established for the people is the one in Mecca, a blessed beacon for all the people. Now Dan Gibson claims that this word BEKKA, what it means to weep, to cry, to mourn. And he says that this could be an alternative name for Petra, because in 362 AD there was a massive earthquake that hit Petra, and therefore people were crying and mourning about this. So maybe this word is in reference to Petra. Now, that's fine. Let's look at 48:24. 48:24 reads, he is the one who withheld their hands of aggression against you and withheld your hands of aggression against them in the valley of Mecca, after he had granted you victory over them. God is seer of everything you do. So now we have a clear verse in the Quran that uses the word Mecca. It does not use BEKKA. Now Dan Gibson claims that, oh, well maybe this was a mistranscription or a cover-up, and that the original text spelt it with BEKKA and not Mecca. Now I went through about 12 ancient manuscripts of the Quran dating between 700 and 900 AD, and every single one of these show that it's Mecca with an M, a meme, and not BEKKA. Unless these have been severely tampered and they were able to get to everyone, it seems like a far-fetched claim to say that the Quran was mistranscribed here. This is one of the things that should just be a showstopper to start, that look, the Quran cites Mecca, so therefore we accept that the Kaaba is in Mecca. Now his other claim is that he says that BEKKA means mourning, it means to weep, to cry. And this is actually quite comical, because this is a known mistake in translation. The word BEKKA comes from the root beam kaf kaf, and it means crowding together of people, lacking water, breaking of the neck. And the reason that they say it means this is that obviously in Mecca people crowd together, they come to pilgrimage from all over. It's lacking of water, it's a desert. And the breaking of the neck they attribute to the fact that anyone who's tried to invade Mecca, God has protected the Kaaba, and we see this in the surah about the elephant, and that this is God's home and God protects it. So where did this concept that BEKKA means weeping? So how did we get to the idea that BEKKA means weeping, it means to cry? Well, years ago when they were originally translating the Old Testament from Hebrew to Greek, in Psalms 84, it talks about the valley of BEKKA. It says, how lovely is your dwelling place, Lord Almighty. My soul yearns, even faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. Even the sparrow has found a home, and a swallow a nest for herself, where she may have her young, a place near your altar. Lord Almighty, my King and my God. Blessed are those who dwell in your house. They are ever praising you. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage as they pass through the valley of BEKKA. So when the early scholars were translating this text, the word BEKKA sounds very similar to another Hebrew word, which is BEKKA, which means to weep. And early translations translated this as the valley of weeping. And some people who were looking at the old Greek text, they translated as that. But today, everyone understands that this is a name, the Valley of BEKKA, and does not mean weeping, that this is a fundamentally different word. But it doesn't seem like Dan realized this, and he's using this word that is mistranslated. So it's not known as the Valley of Weeping. So you may be thinking, Greek, Hebrew, what does this have to do with the verses of the Quran? The Quran's written in Arabic. It's not written in Hebrew or in Greek. But this same phenomenon that we see in Hebrew, where two words, they sound almost identical, except one means BEKKA, as in the ancient name of Mekkah, and the other one means to weep or cry. The same phenomenon occurs in Arabic. The root of BEKKA in Arabic is be, kaf, kaf. We already went over this. And there's a similar sounding word called, which is BEKKA, which means to weep or to cry. But the root, the spelling of this is fundamentally different. This root is BEKKA ya. And people make the mistake where they think that BEKKA comes from this root, this other root. And this is a known error that people have made. And it's interesting that this corresponds both in Hebrew and in Arabic. But it's worth pointing out that these are two fundamentally different words.
Okay, so he keeps talking about BEKKA. Someone said, suggest you debate Dan Gibson because everything you said is useless because you don't have evidence, unlike Dan. So my comment is, Quran tells Meccans that olives come from Mount Tur or somewhere up north near that area in Middle East, not anywhere near where Mecca today is found. Why would there be anything but dates and water in Mecca? Please see my channel videos. I give references for my opinions. The wall around Mecca isn't missing. There was a wall outside Ta'if where Muhammad, peace be upon him, rested. Grapes were imported, not grown in Mecca. But Dan says a prisoner had grapes. They were miracle grapes from God because it was not the season for grapes anywhere. Dan pretends that was in Jordan, but it wasn't. Okay, so just some things to think about. Because they say there's no proof and everything Dan says is correct. No, Dan Gibson lies, okay? He's not telling the truth. Those grapes are miracle grapes given to a prisoner of war or a man that was being tortured, a Muslim man. And that's why we don't accept what Dan says. Okay, because he doesn't tell the truth. And he misquotes those hadiths, okay?
Despite almost sounding identical. So just to recap, in order for Dan Gibson's claims to be true, several things have to play out. One is we need to prove that Petra was also known as the Valley of Weeping. Secondly,
which is true, yeah, you have to prove what he says. It's not just like he can say anything and that's what it means. Petra means rock or weeping place. Rakhmu means rock, so the Romans called it Rakhmu. What was it before that? Was it called Petra? You know, what does Petra mean? And just because it's called the Valley of Weeping or whatever, the place of weeping, what does that have to do with Mecca anyway? And you could have different locations in the world with the same name. That happens all the time. And it could be that Meccans also were weeping, you know, because they had so many internecine wars and, you know, were constantly killing each other. I'm sure they were weeping a lot. And they could have also called their place the Valley of Weeping or this place, you know, whatever. BEKKA. Okay, he's saying it means that. It could also mean something totally different.
That it's not actually the Valley of Mekkah in 4824, that it's the Valley of BEKKA. And thirdly, that Psalm 84 would have to be changed from BEKKA, which is a name, to BEKKA, which is the action of crying or weeping. So all these things have to be true.
So it's a different
this
word.
One claim to hold water. Now this
right. So he's a liar.
shows the level of straws that are being grasped to make this